chat with Carl about the new parts, and we're happy that they've been integrated into the car okay. With any luck, you'll be able to feel the improvement, so give them a try.
That's what I like to hear. New parts. We have a front downforce upgrade for this weekend, just a minor, but that should help us navigate the tight corners of Monaco. But I am a little bit worried about the balance of the car because we have no upgrades to the rear downforce and a major and a minor to the front now, so the car may be a little bit off balance. I might need to do some setup work to compensate for that. For now, we will just see how it goes in practice, but looking at the weather, it's all clear, and here's the upgrades relative to the other teams around us. We haven't really gained or lost anything since the start of the season, and that's pretty much because I've been spending all the resource points on the department efficiency upgrades and quality control. But we have finally will get the rear downforce upgrade to hopefully balance out the car a bit for the next episode. But anyway, let's just get into practice and see how it goes.
The Monaco Grand Prix is upon us, and we're heading into the weekend with the first of the practice sessions. It's certainly not the easiest of tracks to navigate, so today is going to be incredibly valuable to the teams. Low's hairpin is the slowest corner of any track on the Formula One calendar. It's taken at just 48 kilometers an hour, but provides a stunning view on the first lap as the entire grid bunches up and tiptoes through the corner, hoping not to leave any carbon fibre parts behind.
This is such a tight bend that a special steering rack is used just to get around this very corner, as the cars would not normally be able to make the turn. There is the possibility of overtaking through Lows, but more often than not, you'll end up damaging your car.
Alright, so let's get into practice.
Okay, the track is green right now, so take a few laps to get the tyres up to temperature. Try and feel your way around.
Alright, let's go to start practice for the Monaco Grand Prix. This, I will admit that I turned on the pit exit assist for Monaco, since I am terrible at the pit exit in Monaco. But you can see just on the outlap here I completely missed the Mirabeau corner, I believe it's called. You can see I'm also very cautious because I have absolutely no confidence around Monaco to begin with. After a few laps I'll be much faster, but to begin with you really do have to take your time, or I do anyway. But you can see through the tunnel the rear end just snaps, and that's the extra front downforce kicking in. Compared to the rear, I could only just barely stop for the Nobel chicane, so that's a bit of a problem. And I'm actually going to come in at the end of this lap and increase the rear downforce because this car is actually undrivable. It's so snappy.
Right, come in at the end of this lap.
So I'm going to bring it in and maybe do a bit of setup work. So here we go. Into the setup, and I'm going to change. I think I'm just going to put the rear downforce on the maximum, and
So, we'd like to run the acclimatization program if you have a chance before qualifying. It'll give us a good indication of our relative pace and consistency.
I'm going to put the rear downforce on maximum, and I'm going to go 2 clicks down from the maximum on the front downforce, since there's 2 upgrades on the front wing. Maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't, we'll see. But let's go out on track and try the setup once again. And this was much better. I could actually drive the car and push it a little bit without it snapping and going all over the place through the tunnel. You'll see this time it sticks much better, actually a lot better than I expected. So that seems to have solved the problem, and that'll be the setup I run with for the weekend. And the problem should be solved for the next episode in Canada when we get our major rear downforce upgrade. We can see slapping the wall there on the exit there, and I think that might have damaged the front wing.
We've had to spend time repairing the damage to the car.
And confirmation there that that did damage the front wing. But as we go to the end of the first practice session, you can see I'm down in 14th, Sergio Perez 10th, so the pace for the whole team isn't really there, but I'm lacking a lot to my teammate. So anyway, we'll get into practice 2, and we do the race runs in practice 2 on the hard.
Okay, you're in the top 10.
On the hards, and also on the softs in a moment. But anyway, the race runs were okay. The soft tyres seem to drop off a lot, so that worries me a little bit. But I'll think about that when we get to qualifying. But still, only 14th and 10th for the team once again in practice 2. Practice 3 I did the qualifying sim, so that won't really be representative of the pace. Now we get into qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix, the most important qualifying session of the season. Let's go.
We're here at the magical Circuit de Monaco for one of the most challenging qualifying sessions on the Formula One calendar. Who can add their name to the illustrious list of Monte Carlo pole sitters here today? It always looked like the kind of track that asks an awful lot of the rear tyres, such as the frequency of low-speed exits.
Lots of low-speed exits means the rears are in for a lot of punishment. It's all too easy to spin them up coming out of a corner too aggressively. It might look great for us as spectators, as we love to see a car driven beyond its limits, but it's not going to result in a great long-run pace.
Alright, here we are for qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix.
Standing by.
Let's go and get a lap in early and see how this goes. Here we go, out of pit lane, and getting through Q1 should be okay. We were running P14 in practice 1 and 2, so I think that will be okay, but what I'm worried about is if I'll be able to get into Q3 at all. But after practice 2 and doing a number of laps on the soft tyres, they were really falling away very, very quickly. They were overheating and they were impossible to control the temperature. So I'm thinking that I have to start the race on medium tyres. There's no way around it really. I do not want to be doing this race on soft tyres at the start, because I'm going to have to, it's just not going to work. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to try maybe in Q2 to get through on the medium tyres, because for me at least in practice they weren't even that much slower. I just do not like the soft tyres in this game. But anyway, onto our qualifying lap itself in Q1 through Casino Corner now, and down the hill, and I'm basically just trying to not make any mistakes on this lap. We should be able to get through pretty easily. We go a little bit deep into the Lowe's hairpin, very slow corner, so it shouldn't affect us too much. It's a relatively tidy lap, but as we come to cross the line, we go P6, last out of everyone who's set a lap so far. So I'm going to have to go again, because that's not going to be good enough. So we go again, hit the wall, but anyway, we'll ignore that and move on. It didn't damage the car, it seems, or not to the extent it's going to affect my lap time. As we come through the final 2 corners now on the second attempt, we're going to cross the line, but will it be good enough? P7. That's a bit of a relief actually. I wasn't expecting to be that high up the order, but that's encouraging to see that we finally have some pace. Sergio Perez down in 13th with Antonio Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen, the Toro Rossos as well of Albon Kvyat and Robert Kubica out in Q1. George Russell doing a good job in P15 there, getting through into Q2 here in Monaco. But anyway, moving on to Q2 now. I decided I'm just going to take the risk. I'm just going to set a single lap on medium tyres and see how that goes. I'm going to wait right until the last moments of the session and go out then. And here we go on medium tyres doing our qualifying lap now. A little bit of a narrow exit on the first corner. I didn't quite use up all the road there. We move on to the end of it. We're going to see what sort of time we can put in and if we can get into Q3 as we pause the game to restart the recording. P9. We do get into Q3. How have we managed that after struggling for pace all weekend? I will say after this I put the difficulty up because that pace come out of nowhere. Technically I probably shouldn't have gotten through on medium tyres. Sergio Perez down in 15th, so he was well off the pace there behind George Russell, who also is ahead of Lando Norris, so both Norris and Perez, really a bad qualifying session for them. But Roman Grosjean and Devon Butler in the Hasses also knocked out there. But Pierre Gasly was down in 10th as well, so he will be looking for some improvements. But now we're into Q3, and this is the one that counts. And I'm fired up now. We've had some really good pace in Q1 and 2, so I'm thinking with the Red Bulls underperforming, a top 6, top 5 start could be possible. So that would be huge for this race if we can start in the first 3 rows. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We just have to put this lap in and see, as we have Sebastian Vettel behind us. And we cross the line, and we are in P2 at the moment. How on earth have we pulled that lap time out? We're going to fast forward the rest of the session now. I don't think I can really get any more out of the car.
Rain in around 10 to 15 minutes.
So we move on to the results screen.
Complete, let's review our top 3 today. Vettel, Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So we drop down to P5. We out-qualify Verstappen, we out-qualify Pierre Gasly, and we are actually only a few tenths ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. So in actual pace it wasn't anything too crazy, it's just the Red Bulls were just off, really. But anyway, I'll take P5, that's a brilliant qualifying. So let's now get into the race. Also, some silly person got their Formula 2 race corrupted.
I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
So there'll be no Formula 2 in this episode because the files got corrupted. But anyway, into the F1 race now, the Monaco Grand Prix.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That was how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean Sea. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today, though, ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than inches from the race-ending barriers. And as the drivers start thinking about getting a good start and how on earth to get through Saint-Devote in one piece, I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, if we might be seeing a safety car or two today.
Well, you wouldn't exactly bet against it, would you? Statistically, it is pretty common, of course. About 80% of all Monaco Grand Prix will have at least one safety car. And that's despite the incredible work of the marshals around here, who you'll often see lifting cars out of the way just under the yellow flag conditions. The teams will always plan for the worst case scenario though, and they'll be making sure various caution periods are built into their strategy models for the race.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, the scientist, and Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Gasly, and Lucas Faber, Butler, Grosjean, George Russell, and Norris, Perez, Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen, and Alexander Albon. Kvyat and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Don't say it.
Okay, don't try anything silly into one. It's going to be crazy in there. Just do your best to stay out of trouble.
Okay, phew, he didn't say it. So, thankfully, we got into gear 3 on the medium tyres, so we'll be able to start the race on those tyres, and I'm going to, for now, select the 2-stop, medium to soft to medium, because it says it's a lot faster, but I think I'm going to go to the hard tyres, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's the strategy for now. We'll change it as the race goes on.
Launch map is good, but we need to learn the gears, so go into each one when you can. We're going to need some work on the brakes, so put some energy into them, and warm the tyres as well, please.
But yeah, for me the medium tyres were the ones to use, yeah, especially definitely in the race. They're much more stable, much faster for me, even after just a couple of laps. So yeah, that's why I'm starting on the mediums. But this start, I'm just realizing now, could be very important. At this point, I'm starting to get better at starts in this game, and I think we might be able to take one of the Mercedes.
Conditions look stable at the moment. No rain currently expected.
And we could take a P4 finish if we beat one of the Mercedes off the line. If they get ahead, we have no chance of catching them, but if I can overtake one of the Mercedes on the start line, we could be in for a very, very good result. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Alright, here we are, lining up on the grid for the Monaco Grand Prix. Lining up behind the 2 Mercedes of Bottas and Hamilton, the 2 Ferraris ahead of them. We've got the Renaults behind us, we've got the Red Bulls hanging around as well.
The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights.
Alright, here we are, ready to start the Monaco Grand Prix. 5 red lights. Lights are out and away we go for the Monaco Grand Prix. It's a brilliant start versus the Mercedes cars. We're going to go to the inside of the first corner, make a big dive, see what we can make of it. And we've gone for it and got P3 in the start of this race. We are ahead of Bottas, we are ahead of Hamilton, and Nico Hülkenberg has somehow jumped them as well. We'll get a replay of that soon when we can. But as we go into the Lowe's hairpin for the first time, the Ferraris have got a lead on me already, as we are holding up the rest of the grid on our medium tyres. But here we go, the Ferraris ahead of myself, Hülkenberg, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, Ricciardo, Butler, Weber, George Russell, Grosjean, Lando Norris from my teammate, the Alphas, Toro Rossos, and then Robert Kubica at the back there. But a very good start by myself. And we are up into P3 at the start of this race.
Okay, that's a good start. Keep it up.
Thank you, Jeff. That is exactly the start we needed, and we'll just try now to focus on the rest of the race, keep the front wing on the car, and try not to make too many mistakes, see how the strategy plays out, and we could be in for a very, very good result, maybe even a podium. But the Mercedes will be very fast. Here's the replay from off board. As the lights go out, it's a perfect start from the Ferraris on the front row, and they get away from the Mercedes, who both had a bad start to begin with. They make a big dive bomb, cut the corner a little bit, and there's Hülkenberg, who's followed me through there, and you can see him there jumping both the Mercedes as they got boxed in behind me. So a very opportunistic Hülkenberg there. But as you can see, the Ferraris have skipped away, and we are still holding up the rest of the field for all we're worth, trying to hold on these medium tyres while everyone else is on the faster soft tyres. But Hülkenberg is between myself and the Mercedes, and I'm hoping he can act as a bit of a barrier. But as we move on to lap 7, we get
Green
this.
flag, caution. positive delta. Drop your speed. Our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow.
Alright, so what's happened? We're looking at Verstappen. Has something happened to him? There's a car weaving up ahead. And no, it's his engine. His engine has exploded in this race. Pierre Gasly goes past around the outside there. And he's dropping positions, but it doesn't matter because he's out of this race. It was a bit close there with one of the McLarens. But there you go, Max Verstappen out of this race. That is one of the contenders. And he is out. Here's the onboard. Something flying in the background there. I'm not sure if that's a bit of carbon fibre. I don't think there was contact with another car, but I could be wrong. And Robert Kubica there.
Ending, we're going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags.
But
Okay, clear.
no one was anywhere near pit lane there, so no one could gain a pit stop advantage through that. Otherwise, I might have considered coming in and sticking on the hard tyres to the rest of the race now. But that didn't happen. There was no opportunity to pit. But here's the battle for the lead. It's currently Sebastian Vettel ahead of Charles Leclerc. But they're a long way ahead of me already in this race.
Okay, gap ahead is 22.0 seconds.
There you go. They have absolutely taken off with one of their rivals, Max Verstappen, now out of the race. And this is Valtteri Bottas. And he has damage, which I'm trying to get a camera angle here. You can see the left end plate on the front wing is gone on his car. That's Lewis Hamilton's car, and I'm just looking at the Red Bulls now as well, because if we scroll down to the bottom of the race director, you can see Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas and Pierre Gasly have all dropped to the back of the grid. They have not made a pit stop. So something has gone horrendously wrong with their race. I couldn't find a replay of that, but something has gone horrendously wrong for both Mercedes and Red Bull in this race, and Ferrari have basically been gifted a 1-2. I've got no idea what happened, but somewhere on the line Bottas got damaged, and Gasly and Hamilton have both lost a ton of track position, and Bottas will have the hardest day of all of them because he's lost track position and car speed with the damage. So it'll be interesting to see if they can come back at all in this race. But that
Our gap to the car in front is 23.5 seconds.
that almost guarantees us it guarantees a midfield team will get on the podium. But here's also Ricciardo, who's got damage as well off the start. Something's happened, and he's missing the front left end plate. So something has gone wrong with his race as well. He's holding up a bit of a train and helping me out as well by keeping some of the cars away. But anyway, looking back at the race for the lead now, it's still the two Ferraris, and they are still within probably a second or so, and that is a battle that will go on the entire race. And there's Bottas, and he's not even that far ahead of the Ferraris, so he will very soon be going a lap down with his damage.
We're leading our teammate by 6.3 seconds.
6.3 seconds ahead of Perez, so he's maybe had decent pace in this race, but you can see there is a little bit of a train back there on the mini-map in the bottom left. So
Our gap to the car in front is 20.1 seconds.
I'm pretty sure he's in amongst that. But we've gained a bit on the leaders because they've made a pit stop, and that's the only time we'll ever gain anything on the Ferraris. But they've swapped. Charles Leclerc has got the undercut on Sebastian Vettel, and he's now ahead. So the home favourite, if you like, Charles Leclerc, now leads the Monaco Grand Prix, but you can see Vettel there was not letting him go. And meanwhile, Bottas and Gasly are still stuck behind one of the Williams cars there. And he's doing a brilliant job there holding up the two front-running cars. And there's another Williams train there. So that's fun.
Copy that. Parts for next box.
And we are switching our strategy now just back to serious talk, and we are going on to the hard tyres to the end of the race now, because I think they'll be the ones who use I'm just going to avoid the soft tyres completely the way that this race has played out with the top teams out of contention, I'm going to play it safe, just do the one stop, and yeah, everyone's got a pit stop left, so I'll be able to get an undercut on them hopefully. So here we come into the pits for our one and only pit stop in this race. Let's hope for a good one. And that seemed very quick. It was a little bit slow on the exit there, but that was my fault. And as we come out of pit lane, we're in P15, but everyone's got one or maybe even two pit stops left. Some people are doing 3 stops. The Ferraris I know are doing 3 stops. I checked on the radio, and that's what Jeff told me. So that is a very unusual strategy for the Ferraris, but they're so far ahead they cannot possibly lose this race really, barring any disasters. So yeah, that's what this race looks like at the moment. We're just waiting for everyone else to make their pit stops, and we should be able to pass everyone, and we could be on for a podium, but it's a long way to go, and there's a lot left to play out. But here's a look at what's going on in the pit lane. Everyone else is coming in at the same time, and they're all holding each other up in pit lane, but Perez has made the most of that, and he's actually jumped a few spots there in pit lane, so he'll be happy about that. The crew obviously doing him a favour with a fast pit stop, jumping a few people. But anyway, back to focusing on our race. On lap 34 now, and we're up into P8. P8 Gasly's ahead of us, Devon Butler's behind, and it's back to just pushing on and yeah, just getting the laps out of the way. But we move on, and Devon Butler's down the inside, and I think he might have hit us. We've cut the corner, and I had to slow right down to avoid a penalty there. And we even get away without a warning. Here is the replay. Devon Butler's down the inside. He hits the inside wall, hits us, forces us to cut the corner there. And that is a mistake from Devon Butler. But the rivalry between us continues as we have to let past the Ferraris as they've made another pit stop. But we're now still in P8, and Sergio Perez is the car behind me. So he's gained a lot in this race, and he is now...
Reduce the ERS deployment, please. We need to charge the battery.
Even in Monaco, that's a problem. We are now on course for a podium. But we move on a little bit later. We've moved up to P7 as someone else must have pit. And Lewis Hamilton is now the car behind me, so he is forging a comeback in this race, and he'll be putting the pressure on a lot more than anyone else could have in the opening stages of this race. So this race may have just gotten a lot harder, but we'll see. I think it's Monaco, so we should probably be able to defend from Hamilton, but we ran a little bit wide there, but you'll see here he went for the gap, but it didn't work for him. He didn't get damaged, so it won't affect his race, but you can see how close he's running behind me in the low hairpin as we had a compromised line. But anyway,
Weber is in the pits.
here we go again with the Ferraris, and this time I did not let them pass on the main straight. We're going to let them pass here at the upper Mirabeau, and I chose this spot because I was able to cut across to the right and stop Hamilton from getting through as well. But he's still putting the pressure on, still right behind me, and we're not going to be able to outrace him on pace. So this race is just all about defending from Hamilton. But we're still only in P5. Gasly and Hülkenberg are still ahead of us, and they still have to make more pit stops, so we should be able to jump them. I've been checking on the radio to see how far ahead Gasly is, and we'll easily jump him, but Hülkenberg is borderline. And here's Hülkenberg coming out of pit lane, and he's ahead of the Ferraris. So the only chance we'll have is if he loses some time. And he lets pass the Ferraris, and we were not able to make the most of that. We were too far back.
Hülkenberg ahead. Our gap to the car in front is 2.0 seconds. They're on fresh mediums.
So we made a bit of a mistake there, but Hülkenberg is 2 seconds ahead, so it's not the end of the world. That is a gap we can make up. but we're on old hards, he's on fresh mediums, so it doesn't look promising, and as we go on,
The gap to the car ahead is 4.0 seconds.
he's just getting further and further ahead, so Hulkenberg might be on for a podium here, and we make matters worse for ourselves. We run wide, and Hamilton gets through there, as Ricciardo is also having a go, but we make sure that doesn't happen, and we hold on to that position. But we have lost the podium. Hamilton's now ahead of us as well. He may have another pit stop, I'm not sure. But here we go now. Ricciardo's having gone passing us. We squeezed him into the inside wall. We're side by side into the upper Mirabeau, and trying to hold around the outside to the inside of the hairpin. We go for a massive dive bomb and cut him off basically to make sure he cannot get past us. But we've caused a bit of a bottleneck here. Everyone's slowing down, and someone here is stopping. It's one of the Alfa Romeos. There's a Toro Rosso stopping as well, and we have caused some kind of chaos with that little battle. Here comes one of the Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas will be arriving on the scene soon. Devon Butler is trying to figure out how to get through, and he's going up onto the inside curb there. Here comes Bottas. He's already there and involved in the incident. There are cars parked all over the track. There's no safety car because Cillian looked at the flashbacks, but the Haas car is trying to figure out how to do a 50-point turn. Here comes Kubica. He's clever. He goes around the outside of everyone and makes it through. But here comes the race leaders, and he's in. He's involved in the crash. Both Ferraris with front wing damage now in this race. What has just happened in this race? Bang! That is a big moment in this race. Both of the Ferraris very lucky to still be in the race. No one out of the race because of this. Bang! Look at that. That is a massive blow for Ferrari. Leclerc in, Vettel in. Hulkenberg there is involved there as well, the car that ran into the back of Vettel. And here is me coming back to the incident, and Hulkenberg now is trying to figure out how to get going again, having trouble getting moving. I'm not sure how, but we've ended up ahead of Hamilton again. Maybe he made another pit stop, I'm not sure, but he gets blocked by Hulkenberg as we dove to the inside. He was unsighted, but managed to stop in time to not cause another crash. But Hulkenberg's still doing a 50-point turn, trying to get out of there. But you can see how slow I had to go to make the corner. And there's a Haas car still there. It's just a mess. I don't know what's happened at that corner. And yeah, it's absolute chaos unfolded. But we've gotten through it somehow. And Nico Hulkenberg has finally gotten moving, but he's got damage. A lot of cars have damage. I think some people have penalties as well. I'll show that on the race director at the end of the race. But we have front wing damage as well a little bit, as we I'm not sure where that came from actually. We either scrape one of the walls or a curb or something, but that will affect us for the rest of this race. But because of all that chaos and Nico Hulkenberg being involved, we are now back ahead of Hulkenberg, obviously, as he's had to make another pit stop, and we are now back on the podium in this race. But meanwhile, looking at the battle for the lead,
11 laps to go.
as the battle for the lead continues, they are a little bit slow because Sebastian Vettel leads the way, but he has damage. Leclerc has pit for a new front wing, new tyres, and he is charging after Sebastian Vettel. But we'll see how that goes for the rest of this race as we Charles Leclerc that corner and get the right rear wheel get caught on the inside there. But the race now, we've just got to bring it home.
Second a lap to the car behind, 1 second.
And Ricciardo is very, very speedy in this race. But back to the battle for the lead. This is on board with Charles Leclerc, and he is trying everything he can to catch Sebastian Vettel, but it's just not looking like enough at the moment. And we make life worse for ourselves. We've got more damage to the car now on lap 77. The Ferraris, a lap ahead of everyone, are going to get a 1-2 finish. Not the order the home crowd wanted to see, but it's Vettel first. Charles Leclerc finishes in P2 at his home race. And we are coming through the last sector, through the swimming pool for the last time on lap 77 to finish. We've got front wing damage on both sides of the car. We are struggling to turn, but we are just going to hold off Daniel Ricciardo for P3 in this race. Ricciardo 4th though, so it's a good result for both Australian drivers.
Nice work, you did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
Ooh, I hope the boss is happy with that. That was a long, hard race.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again. Let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. Sebastian Vettel is our new championship leader after a great result. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
It's a tough one, but I think I have to give it to Robert Kubica. He really impressed me out there today, and I think he has every right to be happy with that result.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari take the lead at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
So a very crazy results screen there. Lewis Hamilton ended up nowhere in the at the end of the day, but yeah, that was a very crazy race. But you can see in the Drivers' Championship, Gasly has dropped to P10. Lucas Faber and Nico Hulkenberg passing him. Ricciardo has also gained some ground as well. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the race director. And there were some penalties there as well. But anyway, it didn't affect the results in the end. But yeah, crazy race. Good driving from Kubica to avoid that incident. And noticed by Anthony Davidson there. But Lewis Hamilton ended up down in P19, so I'm not sure what happened to him there. But anyway, let's go on to the interviews.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that.
Well, yeah.
Some excellent overtaking moves from your former teammate today. Did he learn some of them from you? Everything went your way today. It looked like you had a really good strategy for the race.
Yeah, we talked about strategy a lot at the start, but it all just sort of worked out for us in the end.
It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't really expect a good result coming into this weekend. The track didn't look like it would suit our car, but we managed a good qualifying and had a good strategy for the race, got a good start, and things just sort of went our way in the end. And yeah, it just sort of worked out.
Things looked close between you and your rival for a bit, but you came out on top, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a few good battles with Sergio over the past few races. Spain probably got a little bit closer than I wanted, but yeah, it was good.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Claire. But now we'll see what Claire was just talking about. We will beat Sergio Perez in the rivalry. There it is. Get the little tick there. And that will earn us a few resource points, I think, to help with the development of the car. It doesn't really make sense that you get more resource points for being better than your teammate. But anyway, we'll won't worry about that it's just a game mechanic, but anyway. We are still ahead of Nico Hulkenberg in the rivalry, 21-14, so I think we'll be able to wrap that up in France maybe. But anyway, now we look at the resource points we get, and we will get a solid, here it is, 1,299 resource points. We've got 2,400 and something in total, and a good 600 for the team goal there.
Fantastic podium. Well done. Keep pushing like this for the rest of the season.
Alright, I will.
Looks like one of your rivals is also going to an upcoming historical event. If you choose to take him on, it might help get your name out there a bit.
Looking at upgrades, I can't do another upgrade to the aero department. That's I mean I can, but it's I need rear downforce, and that's blocked off at the moment. So I'm going to go with another chassis upgrade. No, I'm not. I'm going to go for more department efficiency, because the chassis is not that bad. So I thought I'm just going to go with more efficiency and quality control on the aerodynamic side. Go completely crazy with it, because we need massive upgrades in that area of the car to get it competitive. The chassis isn't that far off really, so that's my reasoning for that. But now we'll finally get into the invitational event, which is also being attended by Nico Hulkenberg, so that'll be interesting. We'll be paddling away with him, but in the 2010 Red Bull car, so this could be an interesting little challenge.
Here we are then, the calm before the storm, as we wait for this field of iconic cars to burst into life for the historic invitational event today. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to be here, and welcome along to all of you at home as well. So grab a cup of tea and get ready as our competitors make their final preparations.
Alright. So I love these classic cars. They, for the most part, they all handle pretty good and a lot of fun to drive. But this is a time attack in the 2010 Red Bull racing car. So the car driven by Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel. And obviously Vettel's championship winning car. I believe the first Vettel championship winning car. So we drove the Brawn last time at Hockenheim. We're now in Brazil driving the Red Bull car, and we're going to try to beat Nico Hulkenberg's time attack timer around the Brazilian racetrack. So like I said, the Formula 2 recordings got corrupted somehow. I'm not sure what happened, but they're gone. But quickly talking about what happened in the Formula 2 races at Monaco. I am now leading the Formula 2 Championship. Lando Norris had a engine failure in the feature race, and he wasn't able to recover in the sprint race, so he scored no points for the weekend. And yeah, I was able to take the championship lead. But you'll see how the next round plays out when we get to the French Grand Prix. But yeah, that's what's happening at the moment in my Formula 2 career mode as Roberto Meri. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll put the highlights of the Formula 1 race at Monaco at the end of this, and I will see you in the next video for the Canadian Grand Prix. I'll see you in the next video for the Canadian Grand Prix. Goodbye. But as we move on to lap 6 now, we get a virtual safety car. No, we don't. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Maybe that's next lap.